Bernie Sanders delivered his long-awaited, much-lauded Democratic Socialism defense speech just yesterday, and we've got some highlights right here.
Tens of millions of American families continue today to lack the basic necessities of life. The great middle class of our country has been in decline, and faith in our political system is now extremely low. Ordinary people, working people, young people, don't vote. We have an economic and political crisis in this country, and the same old politics and economics will not effectively address those crises. If we are serious about reinvigorating American democracy, we need to develop a political movement which, once again, is prepared to take on and defeat a ruling class whose greed is destroying our nation. Democratic socialism means that in a democratic, civilized society, the wealthiest people and the largest corporations must pay their fair share of taxes. I don't believe government should take over, the grocery store down the street or own the means of production. But I do believe that the middle class and the working families of this country who produce the wealth of this country deserve a decent standard of living, and that their incomes should go up, not down.
I love that he gave this speech, but it's incredible how he's been painted as a radical.
Yeah.
And so many people who would really benefit from his policy ideas are against him because they've bought into the Bernie Sanders fearmongering. They hear the word socialist without really understanding what it means, and it scares them. And you listen to that speech and you understand exactly what he's going for. He's just trying to make sure that our wages don't continue to be stagnant. He's trying to make sure that corporations who in some years literally pay nothing in federal taxes and get a tax return, companies like Verizon and Bank of America, pay their fair share of taxes. Why is it that the middle class and the working class pays a higher percentage of their taxable income to the federal government, and then you have these massive multinational corporations not paying anything in taxes? Yes, we have the highest corporate tax rate of any developed country, but when you consider the deductions and the loopholes, we have the lowest.
Yeah.
So we have the effective tax rate that we have in the United States. And you say, well, why is that? It's because we have a free market. That's what they keep telling people. Free market. And when they hear somebody like Bernie Sanders is a socialist, it's like, oh, he wants to rig the market. He wants to take money away from rich people and just give it to poor people. And that's not right. That can't be good. But that's not what we're talking about. A free market means that the rich people rig the market in their favor, which is why when we're in the middle of economic boom times, which we are right now, corporations are making record profits. Wall Street is at record highs. Yet, we still have half the people in America, wage earners, earning less than $30,000. Why do we have the biggest income disparity since the Gilded Age? It's because that free market isn't free. That free market is rigged. It's rigged by rich people like Donald Trump and the guys and General Electric and Comcast and ExxonMobil. They rig that system so that you don't get the benefit of your labor. So even though you're working harder, producing more, you don't get to benefit. You don't get to, you don't get any of that money. So when your corporation's profits go up, that goes right in their pocket, or they ship it offshore somewhere. It doesn't go to their workers like it used to be when we had strong unions in America. And let's remember, strong unions don't only help their own people who are in that union, but it affects other people who aren't. So you're like the base setter. So now we've gotten rid of unions, right? And look what's happened to the working class in America. So what he's saying is, let's rig that free market more towards the workers so that we can have a thriving middle class in America and people can get out of poverty. Right now, you can't get out of poverty. And here's one more thing that was said at the Republican debate at Fox Business News that I haven't heard it mentioned anywhere else except this show and the Jimmy Dore Show, is that when they were asked the first question about the minimum wage, Donald Trump and Ben Carson, the two leading candidates, said that wages of American workers are too high. And their plan to help rejuvenate our economy, which it doesn't need rejuvenating, it's already rejuvenated. Their plan to rejuvenate our economy is to lower the wages of workers in America. Donald Trump said wages are too high, taxes are too high, meaning people in America earn too much money. Ben Carson said if we lower the wages for inner city black teenagers, they'll get more jobs. So they're both advocating lowering wages for American workers, which is the first time I've ever heard a politician say that. And it completely slipped past everybody at Fox, everybody in the media.
Think about it this way.
We've even forgotten about it. I forgot about it.
Why do companies create more jobs? Think about that for a second.
Out of the goodness of their heart, right?
Goodness of their heart. Charity.
Why would they do that?
They create more jobs when people purchase their services, right?
Yeah.
So if there is this robust middle class, working class that has disposable income, what are they going to do with that disposable income? Are they going to do what millionaires and billionaires in the United States are doing, where they just kind of hoard it and they put it in either an overseas account or in a U.S. account and just kind of sit on it? Or are they going to go out there and spend the money? They're going to go out there and spend the money. They're going to buy cars. They're going to, fortunately, hopefully one day, for people like me, buy a house, right?
Yeah.
They're going to actually go into the economy and they're going to spend that money. They're going to go out to eat. They're going to go out to malls and buy gifts during Christmas time. Whatever it is, they spend that money, and that's what stimulates the economy. And when people are buying shit, companies are kind of forced to hire more people so they can deal with the demand, okay? But if we're dealing with a situation where people don't have disposable income, they're not going to go out there and spend anything. They're barely able to afford enough to put food on the table for their families. That's what's happening right now.
You're a radical.
So you're saying if we give the people who work at Walmart, for instance, more money, they're not just going to put it in a tax shelter somewhere offshore?
They might.
Yeah.
That's what I think they're going to do.
They're going to put it in a tax shelter, and it's called Walmart. They're going to spend it at Walmart. I like. There's a lot of ways that we could like sort of think of how can you commit political suicide. You would think saying, you listening to me right now, you make too much money. Bernie Sanders had to deliver a speech for why he's not an economic radical. While on the other side, as you point out, nobody's questioning the fact that he said, my supporters make too much money. How is Bernie Sanders a radical?
Because we have broken journalism.
We have broken journalism. People don't remember history. I'm going to get to that in just a second. So people are scared of socialism because they've been told by extremely rich people that if the rich have to pay a little bit more in taxes and it goes to poor people, that's robbery. You're being robbed. But the whole time, literally as they're watching that speech, they're being robbed. When productivity goes up every year for decades and you don't get that money, the money exists. Somebody's getting it. It's not you. You're being robbed. Yep. Okay, the person controlling that company, they're bored. The shareholders, maybe the shareholders, generally not even them. But the owners, they get that money. You're being robbed to pay them, man. That's why you can't afford a house, okay? That's why you make less money than your parents did. That money exists. We're making more shit than we've ever made before. Yep. We've a ton of great services and products all over America. And that's generating a lot of money. It's just not going to people like you. You're being robbed, not by socialists, but by the established economic system that we've got in America right now.
Damn, you got me fired.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, go right ahead.
Just really fast, because one of the biggest problems in America on almost every issue is that we have no understanding of history. And so when we hear socialism, we think scary, even though Bernie Sanders' economic policy would be weak sauce for the Democratic Party in the 1970s. But for some reason, it's radical now. So he had to remind in his speech, almost everything Roosevelt proposed was called socialism. When Social Security was called socialist, the minimum wage socialist, unemployment insurance, abolishing child labor, the 40-hour work week, collective bargaining, strong banking regulations, deposit insurance, job programs, all of those were called socialist. That's 100% true. And they were attacked as being a communist plot that was going to destroy America. And now what are they called? Just that's what we have. We have weekends. We don't have 4-year-olds working in coal mines. It's the most reasonable thing in the world. Socialism is just a reasonable policy that's going to take 50 years for everybody to accept it. And for some reason, the fact that we got public free elementary schools and high schools, no, college, that would be crazy, okay? We have a 2-day weekend, a 3-day weekend. No, that's crazy. We could never have that. A $7 minimum wage, okay, a little bit higher, maybe to keep up with inflation, the cost of living. No, that'd be crazy. What the fuck is wrong with us as a country?
Well, you have to give...
Our media, go ahead.
Yeah, the media, definitely. But also, you have to hand it to the right wing, because they have successfully taken policies that obviously hurt the middle class and the working class, and somehow twisted the message to make people who are harmed by this accept these policies and vote for them.
Yeah.
They vote for them. I mean, I see people on my my Facebook account. I know this is anecdotal evidence, but I know a lot of people probably deal with this. I see people on my friends list on Facebook constantly writing status updates about, how crazy Bernie Sanders is and how we have to be careful about socialism. And these are people who are making like $7.25 an hour.
Yeah.
Okay? Listen, homeboy, like you're going to be harmed by these policies that you're endorsing on the Republican side. It's a terrible idea. Please, for the love of God, look into the way the economy works and how important it is to make sure you have a robust middle class.
I saw a guy, Facebook, a comedian, right? First of all, I love it when there was right-wing comedians without health care. That's what I used to love that before Obamacare. It's like, yeah, I'm right. You get doing. So, but now this guy's coming out against college, and it's all about these moochers, right? Why don't you? Yeah, hey, quit shitting out kids, and if you want your kid to go to college, work and pay for it. And so that's the old thing of like, where are we going to get the money from? We got the money. We're the richest country in the world. We're the richest country the face of the earth have ever seen, with an economy twice the size of China. We can afford to pay for college for everybody. So what I went back on his Facebook page and said, yes, let's not pay for college, and let's make them pay for high school. You want to learn math? Get a job, you lazy ass. And if you want to learn coloring, you should still be doing some yard work. So that, and this idea, it's like, why do we give education to grammar school kids and high school kids? Because we'd have a shittier country with a bunch of idiots running around without educations. And people who look at education as a cost to our society, that's, you know who grins when you do that? Rupert Murdoch grins when you call education a cost, when you say we can't afford college. Because what that is an investment in our country. When you pay for college, it's not a net. You don't go broke educating your own fucking citizens. What you do is you create a stronger economy because you now have more educated people innovating, creating. You have a more educated workforce. That's what helps economies. That's what Finland's done. That's what all the strong economies do. And let's remember this also. Germany, which has the strongest economy in Europe, works less hours than the French.
Yeah.
Free college, free healthcare. And they go, well, somebody's paying for it. Oh, God damn.
I should have mentioned the hours worked in my thing earlier. Yeah, you're totally right. We work harder, we produce more, we get less.
And people love being. It's this Puritanism, right? This you got to work hard, and if you want something, if you want to go to college. Meanwhile, we're spending billions of dollars. Again, we've got the money for this.
Yeah.
We've got the money to educate our people. We've got the money to give our people health care. We've got the money to fix our roads and bridges. We're the richest country in the history of the universe. We've got the money, and every time, hey, do we have to bomb ISIS? Oh, we got that money. We always got that money.
Always, Oh, and by the way, final point on the Bernie Sanders thing. If you think that he's a hardcore radical socialist, I want you to read some of the critiques of his speech written by people who identify as radical socialists, who think that his economic plans are weak sauce.
Wow.
But anyway.
It's what you said, John. It's true. So him being this, they're calling him a communist. He wouldn't even be a good liberal Democrat in the 70s.
No, probably
It's amazing how far we've shifted.
We've shifted very, very far.